please find a comfortable posture. To me, there is this brilliance about stepping out of the mind. And there's so many techniques. It's so common to have these techniques. And what that inevitably does is then create this evaluative experience of like, am I doing this right? Or am I doing this in the way that it's being instructed? Or it also kind of creates in the mind like a thing to look for. Right? I'm doing this technique for this result. And I think there's this really beautiful, brilliant thing that comes up when we might need those techniques to sort of kind of launch us in a direction. But there's this thing that can kind of happen where like we don't need technique anymore. And rather than have to think of it as awareness or prana or the watcher or the self or the light, giving it these names and attributes, we can just examine our experience. And it's almost like, really, that sounds like mundane. Like, isn't everyone doing that? To me, the answer is no. Not everyone's doing that. Not everyone's just examining what's their experiences. And so instead of having to look for the witness or look for the watcher or look for the sense of self, we just take note. We take note of what we're experiencing. And for me, there's this thing in my experience. It's very, very obvious. There's this very, very present thing in my experience. It's a sensation. I'm not sure if it's really an emotion. I have emotions around it, but I don't think it's the emotions itself. And even when I have thoughts, I'm aware of those thoughts, they are distinct. They're distinct from this thing that I'm talking about. And I'm not sure it's appropriate or fully accurate to say it's awareness because it has its sensation. I would say it's in my awareness. I'm aware of it. And it just sort of dwells and exists. Can't make it go away. It's always there when I look for it. I'm assuming it's there when I'm not looking at it. It's there whether I focus on it very deeply. It's there whether I'm just sort of glancing at it. Doesn't really make any sounds. I couldn't tell you what it looks like. There is a feeling there. There's a very enjoyable feeling. I wouldn't say it's an elation, though. I wouldn't say it's a very excitable feeling, but it is enjoyable. And I can speak on and on about it, actually. I could put a lot of qualities on this feeling. And I only really feel those qualities when I'm looking at it. I'm aware of these sensations and qualities. when I look at this thing. To me, this is spiritual because I can say certain words and have a yes, not 100% yes, because I could say a word like God, and it's like, yeah, it kind of sounds like that, it feels like that, but it's not completely that. It's not completely accurate. I could say it's myself, same thing, my soul. I could say it's the universe, the Tao. I could put a lot of words that kind of make me feel like that's what it is, but it's not good enough. It's just this thing. It's just this very real, present thing. And I can look at it, I can examine it and take note, just like I would anything else. Anything I could see with my eyes or listen to with my ears. But I have to feel into it. I have to sort of see it in my mind a little bit, but it doesn't have any color or shape. It's it's a knowing. That knowing is a kind of a sense all in itself. It's different than hearing and seeing. I know in this moment there's this feeling. And you want to maybe ask yourself, do you feel this thing? Something similar. You just know it's there. And you can kind of probe, feel into it. I think I'm going to call it spiritual, but it's also mundane. It's also just matter of fact, obvious. Sometimes it's almost too obvious. Part of what we're doing is making it special, as mundane and obvious as it is. We're making it special. We're giving it value by giving it our attention. Even as a picture show in your mind, runs its course. The feeling, this thing that I'm talking about, is totally undisturbed. It's it's right there, right there. I can't shake it actually. And so I can stare directly at it. I can just look at it adjacent, passively. Really almost have these moments of being absorbed in it. It doesn't take much effort because of how palpable, how present it is. See if you can find this thing, something similar in your own experience. It's not about being right or wrong or different or same, but just having your own understanding, your own relationship to this energy, to this feeling. One thing to consider is it good enough? When you feel this thing, it just, for me, it sort of emanates a feeling, a lot of feelings, all sort of mixed as one. They're soft and subtle. To me, there's a feeling of good enough. Like I don't need anything more from the moment. Like the moment's complete. I don't have any sense of lack when I tap into that feeling. you tap into it, when you notice it, consider if it's good enough. Is there anything that you could add to it or take away from it? Or is it fine, just as it is? And I'm sure we can all imagine a better circumstance, but really, please remove the images of that better circumstance. And we just experience this feeling as it is. Can you settle into it? Can you enjoy purely? Maybe you got a little distracted. Just notice, was it still there somehow, even though you might not have even been paying attention to it, but it was still there, just dwelling, just abiding, just existing, even as other stories and images entered the mind. What a special thing. What an amazing quality to have that enduring steadiness. You can let it start to almost shape your experience. It's almost like you're running a little experiment, trying to understand what this thing is capable of. What happens if we just pour ourselves into it? Can you trust it? Can joy and love pour out of it? Because we don't know what to call it. We don't know what it is really, just that it's there. I feel a sort of responsibility almost to understand it, to at least try. There's a little bit of courage there, having to invest in something that no one else really can talk about, to have to be my own expert on my own subject matter and confidently honor it. It's a novel thing. Everything else in my world, other people have something to say about it. But this knowing that we're talking about, it's really unknown to anyone else, anything else in our mind. It's novel and genuine. Maybe we're talking about the same thing, but how can we say? What's amazing is that we don't have to be talking about the same thing. For me, this feeling is compelling enough all on its own, even if no one else had any idea. See how you feel about it. See how important it is to you. And see what can happen. See what kind of spaces, feelings, energies can unfold from it as you fall into this thing, this quality, this feeling. It's very subtle, but it's also magnanimous. It's so overt. I think that's why people don't realize it's there, because it's always there. It's validating. To me, it's such a very real part of life. You don't have to talk about it really. Its value transcends words. Anything my mind can come up with, even my biggest ideas, they just sort of float around. They're tiny in comparison to this feeling. Even as you might get a little fatigued nearing the end of the sit, notice that it's not fatigued, it's still there. You might grow a little more distracted, but it's not distracted. It's still there, the same. You can go in and out of it, more and less, but it's not more or less. Sometimes it can grab me completely, and sometimes it's just there, adjacent. Relax from the practice, but notice this thing doesn't change.